Hey everybody, it's me, Eric. To you out there in Facebook land, to my gamer friends, it's Devin Donder, and to some of the people poking in, it's Gumball Head. So I'm here live tonight. So how's everybody doing? Hope you had a great day. I'm about 15 minutes late. Sorry about that. Had to stop and pick up my dog a hamburger, but I'm glad that you guys are here and watching tonight. I think that our broadcast tonight is going to be compartmentalizing loss and how to deal with loss as a whole. Many of you on my personal friends list and many of you who know me know that we're dealing right now with the passing of my dog, who has basically my dog has breast cancer, and I've had this dog for 13 years and she's been through everything with me. So tonight I just kind of want to talk about things a little bit and get some feedback and well, maybe not necessarily feedback, but I do want to let everybody have an opportunity to talk and to just kind of feel things out here. So, and different types of loss. There are multiple different stages of grief, as a lot of us know. I'm not going to dig into the scholastic bag of tricks tonight. I'm just going to kind of roll with the way things are going. So there are lots of different types of grief. I'm going to poke up here real quick and just kind of try to look some stuff up as we go. But there are different types of grief as well. Grief can come in the forms of obviously feeling bad about stuff, like upsetting people, hurting their feelings. Grief can come in the form of loss. Grief can come in the form of resentment as well. Grief can come in the form of letdown too. So, and that grief eventually can break down into loss. And nobody likes losing anything, but loss happens. So, those that are on the regular Facebook page, I apologize. I'm turning the camera. I'm simulcasting. Oh, apparently I can't turn it while I'm live. So I'm going to have to just adjust things here. Maybe hold it for a second. My apologies. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about loss. We all know loss is losing something that we care about. I'll give some examples of loss in my life and see if people can identify. I've lost a job. And in the past, that job has actually brought me the loss of the job actually has brought me a lot of happiness in my life. It's brought me sobriety, and it's brought me a more thorough understanding of life as a whole. So sorry about that. Just to understand that a lot of people, addicts, and I'm trying not to make this an addict broadcast, but addicts don't realize what they're going through sometimes, and they justify their actions based on the way that they're feeling. And a lot of times they deal with the fact that the moments in their lives are based around the feeling of not having anything to lose in the first place. So I've said it before in the past, and I regret saying that, but when people say I have nothing to lose, truth be told, chances are you've got a lot to lose. It's just a mindset. When you're actively using, it's difficult to justify that interaction or that conversation. Just real quick here from the website helpguide.org, the of life's biggest challenges. You may associate grieving with the death of a loved one, which is often the cause of the most intense type of grief. Any type of grief, but any loss can cause grief. So there's 12 examples on their webpage: divorce or relationship breakup, loss of health, loss of job, loss of finances, miscarriage, retirement, death of a pet, loss of a cherished dream, loved one's serious illness, friendships, safety after a trauma, selling a family home. So to identify with some of this stuff, first and foremost, contemplation of selling the home. Sell the house, don't sell the house. How is that going to impact everybody involved? Child, spouse, neighbors, whatever. What do you have to gain from it? Is that gain going to overshadow the amount of loss that's going to be that could be instilled? So obviously you got to weigh the differences in between them. Relationships, marriages fail all the time. Marriages default, marriages break down, communication breaks down, love gets lost, and that breaks down into the grieving process. And over a duration of time, communication will slow down, interaction slows down, and meaningful time spent together slows down and depletes as well. So there's that. And then obviously, if we put it into the real perspective here and the fact of losing a pet, as I said before, I've had my dog Panther. She's a black lab mix. She's a mutt. She's beautiful and she's adorable. And anybody that has met her knows that her head is too small for her body. And lately she looks like she's been taking on some fluid. And her time is coming up soon. And a few months ago, I came to the realization that I will be dealing with the loss of a pet here before long. And it's a whirlwind of emotions with life right now for me. So, so understanding that loss of the pet, that's one thing. Knowing that my pet is about to pass. And welcome to everybody that came in, by the way. And then I had a child of mine graduate from high school this year. Wow, I mean, I don't even feel old. I mean, I'm only 40 years old, but it was a big milestone for my kid. It was a big milestone for me and everybody involved in that kid being raised. And he's an amazing kid. And then my daughter and I are reconnecting now. And I think that's amazing too. But it's amazing how loss of things can bring a family together too. So the addiction aspect, of course, the loss of a pet. When my dog was sick, I dropped everything that I had going on that day and met the family at the vet because thought my dog was going to be put down. When I say my dog, it's my dog because I've owned her since she was a puppy, but obviously she's a family pet. But yeah, so I had a conversation at work today with somebody, and I was like, how do we categorize the loss of a pet? Well, there are a lot of things happening in the mental health world right now, if anybody follows that on the interwebs. But there are a lot more challenging opportunities out there for healthcare. And one of the mandates that is trying to be pushed through Congress right now, from what I understand, is a mandate for mental health for government employees and first responders, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And I didn't even know that was coming up. And then I heard about it today and I was blown away by it. I was like, super cool. So how does a company deal with an employee that loses a pet? So a pet's not a human being, but as we all know, that the loss of a pet can be related to losing a family member in reality. And pets they go through everything with us in life. They see all the changes. They can't voice their opinions, obviously, but they definitely can comfort you when you're down, and they can actually become emotionally attached to you, and they can be your support. And honestly, pets are great because you can yell at them and they'll still love you. And you can pet them when you have a bad day, or you can take them for a ride, or take them for a walk, or feed them cheeseburgers, which I tried to do tonight, but she wouldn't eat, and that broke my heart a little bit. But so that's that type of loss, losing a pet. So let's see here. Let's take another look here. Loss of health. Let's address that real quick. So I've struggled my entire life with health issues. Not so much health issues. It's just poor diet, and that's choice. And I do have a disease, but at one point I was in peak health condition, and I looked great. I felt great, and I just hated eating fish all the time, and it was terrible. And it was a choice to not maintain that lifestyle. And my health started to fail. So I started to gain weight. Sitting on an ambulance, I started to gain substantial amounts of weight. And, I didn't think anything of it until I was no longer sitting on an ambulance. And I was like, wow, I got really fat really quick. So everything that I worked so hard for that first year, I lost in 5 years sitting on an ambulance. And it's tough to come to grips with, but it is what it is, and still kind of working on that. Although lately I've been really slacking off. So let's see here. Cherished dreams, serious illness, loss of a friendship. We can all identify with loss of friendship. So we'll just touch on those three real quick tonight. We've already kind of talked on loss of a home too. But we lose a friendship, okay? So if we think about things, I was in a class on Monday night, and there were some things that were brought up to me, and they were interesting inquiries. One of the things that was asked of me was, how important is it to you to be liked? Well, obviously, we all look at things and we realize, I like to be liked. I like people to like me. I feel like I'm a likable person. Debatable at sometimes, but for the most part, I'm a relatively likable person. I just am who I am. And then it was presented to me as I was talking about being liked, how important, like if I were given the opportunity to have a dream job, because we were talking about dress codes at work, tattoos and piercings and stuff like that. And the guy said to me, if you were offered your dream job, but you had to wear long sleeves and take all your piercings out, would you do it? And I, without hesitation, said absolutely not. And he was like, whoa, really? I was like, no, because honestly, money is not that big of a deal to me. My dream job, I already tried my dream job, and guess what? It didn't work out for me. So it wasn't something that I wanted to do long term. Maybe I did want to do it long term. I just didn't realize it at the time. But now looking back, it's okay. It was bad for me, But would I put on a long sleeve shirt and take out my piercings just because someone wanted to hire me? No, I don't think that I would do that. Would I if I had to? Absolutely. But truth be told, it's just not me. I like to be who I am. I like my funky colored hair, my tattoos, my piercings. And I'm not going to cover up or shield myself, my true self, for anybody else. And nobody else should do that either. Be who you are. Times are changing, and we all know that. The baby boomers are slowly working themselves out of power, and the Generation X, the Generation Y are now coming into power and political stuff. And I don't talk politics or religion because it's not fair, especially on the one-sided here, because there's a camera facing me and no interaction with the public unless you put something in the notes here. But the truth be told, those baby boomers are coming out of power, and tattoos and are more acceptable nowadays. Just like piercings, more acceptable nowadays. Wearing a baseball cap backwards, more acceptable nowadays. And if we look at it, most of the people that are going to actually appeal to this broadcast, if we think about it when we were in high school, homosexuality wasn't as widely accepted as it is nowadays. And I'll tell you what, I think pride is an amazing thing. And I have a lot of friends in recovery as well as out of recovery that are a part of the LGBTQ community. And those who have anything negative to say about my friends or about that community, please keep your comments to yourself because they're not welcome here. I'm more than happy to discuss that type of stuff offline, but for the most part, just mind your own business and live your life, because your opinions, there's no room for hate on either the Gumball Head page or my page. So how do we compartmentalize this loss? What do we do with it? What are our options in life when we start to deal with these types of loss in our life? How do we go about addressing that? Well, most of the time we don't realize that we actually need that help until it's too late. I didn't realize that I needed help until it was too late. And a lot of people out there don't realize that they need help before it's too late. Now, I'm not saying in the addiction capacity, I'm saying in any capacity. There's a stigma attached to people that feel as if they're having mental health issues, that they don't get the help because they don't want to go see a shrink, or they don't want to go see a psychologist or a marriage counselor or whatever. Sometimes it's what we need to do to get forward in our lives. Truth be told, we need to do what's important. Right now, we all live under a higher stress than we ever have in our life. We have more demands placed on us for time, more demands placed on us for attention, more demands placed on us for financial stability and productivity, and more demands placed on us for time with our friends and our families. And it's just, man, before you know it, you're stretched too thin. So how do we deal with that? How do we allocate our time accordingly in order to make sure that everybody in our lives are happy with the amount of time that we offer them? And I'm going to give you a very, very, very easy layman's answer to that question. You can't. It's not possible. It's not possible to make everybody happy. How do we prioritize that? Well, it's difficult to prioritize as well because each different aspect of our lives that we're trying to allocate time to requires a different amount of time. Each aspect of our lives that we're trying to allocate that time to requires a different type of time as well. Okay. For example, your work requires you 40 hours a week. If you work as a full-time job, and no job out there very much nowadays allows you to only work 40 hours. You either work less than 40 hours or you work more than 40 hours. 40 hours and out, this thing of the past, doesn't really happen anymore. And if it does, it's not a livable wage anyways, because it's so expensive to live in the United States and even more so in Michigan. So how do we get by? Well, we work overtime. What happens when we work overtime? Well, it's taking time away from our family. It's taking time away from our recovery meetings. It's taking time away from our schoolwork, taking time away from our gamers, and it takes time away from things that are important to us individually. And when we start to lose that time to other people, we start to lose ourselves. And that is tough to deal with sometimes. When we start to lose ourselves and we start to lose, oh, I see that Autumn says hello. Hi. When we start to lose ourselves, we start to lose the focus on our end term goal. And, when we don't have those goals in place in the first place, we don't even know what we're working towards. We don't even know what we're trying to attain. So if we don't have goals in our lives because we're too worried about making sure that our mortgage is paid, or that, our electric bill stays on, or heaven forbid, your cell phone gets shut off or your internet gets, turned off, we we lose sight of those things. And we start giving more and more and more and more and more to the people that want our time and that demand our time. Now, don't get me wrong. It's important to make sure that you maintain relationships both at work and outside of work, both intimate as well as, personal relationships, and on the weekends, it's important to go out and have a good time and let your hair down responsibly, of course. But sometimes, it's difficult because when you start to allocate those times to people, certain people might feel as if you're not allocating the proper amount of time to them. But for the most part, it's important to talk to these people too, to let them know, hey, it's not anything against you. I just need to allocate the time to this, and this, and this. We all have goals in life. We all have a reachable thing. And truth be told, we live our own lives. And whatever we choose to do with our time is up to us. And what we want to do with our time is important. But don't forget about everybody else that's important in your life. And don't forget about those people that make your life important either. And that's where we tie the normal lifestyle into the approach of addiction. When we're talking about addiction, that addiction, if you think about it, if you get drunk with your friends on a Friday or a Saturday night and you go out drinking with them, well, from the time you start drinking to the time you stop, you're entertaining yourself and you're drinking for that entire time. Well, how many hours after you can finish drinking, are you going to be under the influence? How much time is lost there? Okay. So hundreds of hours throughout paramedic school for me, not going to lie, a period of time of consumption, a period of time of doing homework and drinking, that way hand in hand, which is why I'm redoing my basement, is because I want to change the feel of the basement so that I'm no longer working on that, working with those confines of how I identify my space down here. Continuing school starts back up in August for me. I always take the summer off so I can focus on my small projects, and then I get back into school, and then I work really hard in school. So we're on point for graduating next year, Christmas time, 2020. So we're working hard on that. Wow, people are poking in here. This is great. I like to see so many people in here. I appreciate you guys stopping in for the broadcast. There's some faces in here I haven't seen in a while, and it really warms my heart. Thanks for stopping in. So we've learned that time is important. but anybody that knows me also knows that time is a concept too. So yes, there are deadlines that need to be met on a day-to-day basis. Like if I have to be to work at 5 in the morning, I have to make sure that I'm up and at work at 5 in the morning. Why? Because it makes my boss happy. If my boss is happy, I get a paycheck. That makes me happy. And if I bring home bacon, everybody gets to eat, right? So what about salaried employees? They're responsible for their own paychecks. They get paid regardless if they're there on time or not. But how can that affect your work relationship? The company that I work for is fantastic. If you run in a little bit behind, let your boss know, and he'll do what he needs to do to take care of business. Doesn't mean that he's going to punch you in early or anything like that, but they're not going to punish you for getting stuck in traffic. They're not going to fire you because you had to take a sick day. I love that about my company. What I also love about the company that I work for, and I'm not trying to brag them up by any means, but I'm placing the importance on how workplaces are nowadays. Most companies aren't like this, but if you need to take a mental health day and you call your boss and say, hey, look, I'm having some things going on inside my head today. I need to take a day off. Boss is like, no questions asked. Take a day off. Do what you got to do, handle business, see you tomorrow. They don't pry. They give you this time to take off and do what you need to do with your life. They give you vacation time, they give you sick time, they give you personal time, they give you the time that you need. So when we do have to put my dog down, or when my dog does pass away, I will be allowed some time if I want to. Most companies don't do that anymore, but they see it as a family member, and that's really freaking cool. Okay, so we've compartmentalized loss and time and friendships. And let's see here. Has anybody mentioned anything? Nobody has mentioned anything yet. So when we lose a family member, we're going to step away from the pets and start working with humans, and start working with acquaintances. So how do we deal with death of a family member? How do we get over that grief? Well, a lot of people, again, don't realize that when we lose a family member, there's a lot of grief that comes with that. Regardless of the mode of loss, there is a lot of baggage that comes with it, especially if you're close to that family member. Your parents, I'm lucky enough to still have both of my parents, and I'm not looking forward to the day that my parents pass away. I know it's going to happen someday, but it's going to be tough. Loss of a child, I can't imagine what it would be like to lose a child, but I've been involved in a lot of conversations, and there's a lot of grief that goes on with that. There's a lot of grief that goes with loss of a child, and there's a lot of healing and a lot of pain involved and a lot of confusion, and it's tough. And you come across the addiction community, and even if you're not an addict when that act happens, you can very quickly become one. And it's difficult. Grandparents as well. I was just telling a story today about how I always got a little bit less than my cousins did on holidays, but I've always pretty well been humble too. So, I get a little bit less than my cousins. So what? So be it. I was still humbled by the gifts that I was given. When my grandparents passed away, it was difficult. When when my grandparents passed away, I honestly feel as if the glue fell apart. Our family fell apart. Got some angry faces here. I think the family fell apart a little bit, and it was difficult to deal with. And the cohesion of the family just kind of dissipated a little bit, and it's saddening to see that. But now we've got the family reunion coming up, so that's cool. Anyway, so how do we deal with those things? Well, no, first and foremost, not alcohol, not drugs, not gambling, not process addictions, not substance addictions. We deal with those things by talking about them, talking to a trusted friend, talking to a therapist, talking to a counselor, talking to talking to anybody. And those are the things that we have to be mindful of, is the ability to talk. talk those things through. When you call your friend when you're having a rough day, if your friend's cool, they'll sit there and they'll listen to you and they'll talk to you, and they'll hopefully give you some advice. I did that with my best friend today. I was having a rough day. Shit was kind of hitting the fan, and I made a quick phone call. And after I hung up the phone with them, I felt better. And there's a lot of people in my life that when I call them and I talk to them on the phone, I feel a lot better. Or I send a text, or I send a picture, or a stupid meme, or a Facebook status or whatever. I had posted a Facebook status last week that I was like, I'm about ready to just say fuck it all. And the worst thing about that is number one, on the other side of Facebook, nobody understood what I was saying, but it was a work thing. And the outreach from that was just immense. I mean, in a matter of minutes, I had 20 messages in my Facebook, and people were like, hey, is everything okay? Truth was, yeah, it was. I was just having a rough moment at work. I've since deleted the comment, but I have thanked everybody for that. So we're reaching the 25-minute mark here, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I thank you all for watching, and as always, I love you. Keep going.